Palworld. I spent almost 100 hours in this game getting every single trophy from catching the first pal to defeating the final boss. In this video I'm going to show you how I did it and my tips and advice for getting this platinum. Alright, so we start from square one and we begin gathering resources to build our first workbench in order to get tools and pal spheres. Which leads us to our first trophy, beginning of the legend for catching your first pal. Next up, we look for a place to settle, so I found this nice little open area very close to where you spawn and set up my base here. Here I mostly focus on upgrading my base, so I built beds, furnaces, chests and mines and all that good stuff. So this allowed me to have a nice stream of resources coming in and I was able to explore and catch different kinds of pals around the area. So this gave me a trophy for catching 10 and 20 different kinds of pals. During this time I got quite lucky and captured a human from one of these enemy thug encounters, for which you get a trophy called Inhuman Act. At around level 20 I unlocked the crossbow, and I also had a ground type pal that was quite strong, so I felt quite confident taking on the first tower boss called Zoe and Grisbolt. It's an electric type pal, so it was really effective against it. For this you get a trophy called Hillside Sovereign. As first bosses go, this is super easy, which doesn't reflect how the other bosses are. At this point I started to struggle with some of the resources, especially ore, so I decided to make a second base that's focused on mining. So there's a few places on the map that are really good hotspots for mining. So what you do is you set up your base here, you put your best mining pals. For me it was a couple of Dictoises, but you can use any kind of good mining pal that you have. This will allow you to get mass amount of resources really quickly. Another piece of advice is place your chest really close to the fast travel point in your base, so the center of it, so you can fast travel even though you are overloaded with resources and move your resources from one base to another. At this stage we're in the mid game now, and I wanted to speed up my exploration, and to help me with that I needed a faster mount. All the flying ones at this point were quite slow, so I went for a Dire Howl with a passive skill that boosts movement speed. So look out for these skills: Swift, Runner and Nimble. I'll give you a little boost. With the spare Dire Howls I accumulated, I put them into a Pal Essence Condenser to rank up my main one, which improves their partner skill. So in this instance it increases their movement speed. You can rank up your pal up to 4 times, and to do that you need to sacrifice a total of 116 pals. And for this you get a trophy called All for One. You will need to do this 4 more times for another trophy, but we'll get to that later. So with my new speedy mount I began uncovering the rest of the map, finding new items and completing dungeons. Feel free to explore however you like, but here's a map of what level you should be at before you venture out to each area. Also, if you're unaware, you can craft a mercy ring that will stop you from killing pals, so you can get them down to 1 HP and capture them a lot more easily. Little warning, this does not stop your pal from absolutely obliterating a pal that you were just about to catch. I then took on the next 3 bosses, Lily, Axel and Marcus, which I found quite easy. I think I was a little bit over leveled for those, but I used the recommended type element to use against them, and it was a breeze really. I then stumbled upon an oil rig right here on the map. I didn't know it at the time, but if you clear the base and open the final chest you get a gold trophy called Conqueror of the Sea. All the enemies here were around level 16, so it was pretty easy. I then went after the Twilight Siren trophy. This is one of the 3 trophies where you are asked to summon and defeat a boss. So you get these fragments from clearing dungeons and chests. You can then combine these fragments into a slab that you use at a summoning altar to summon the boss. So, important note here is, when you build your summoning altar, do it on a separate base. Don't do it on your main base, because this boss is gonna wreck your stuff up. So have a clear base, fill that base up with your strongest pals, and then summon the boss, and then you all just gang up on him. And for me, with Bella Noir, the first one, it was really easy. If you are struggling, then fill your base up with pals that are strong against Bella Noir. So if you follow this chart, it tells you that dragons are the most effective against dark type, so use this to have a higher chance of beating this boss. As I got to the late game, I decided to make a new base to include all the new facilities with battery powered assembly lines and all the new mining sites. This is where the breeding of good work pals was really important. So Anubis is by far the best pal for work around the base. You can catch one in the wild, but I definitely recommend breeding them to get the passive skills to increase work speed. They have super high mining and handiwork skills, which are really the most time consuming things around the base. So here's an example of how fast they can craft some spheres. This made the trophy for crafting 2,000 spheres and 20,000 ammo really easy. I also naturally got the trophy for crafting 10,000 ingots. I bred pals to get Yermintide Ignis, the fire version of Yermintide with really high kindling ability, and it really made it a lot more doable. After my base was ready, I went after my first legendary pal. So the Jet Dragon is a game changer, man. I would say as soon as you have legendary or even ultra spheres, try catch him. I caught him on an ultra sphere with 5% chance, so I was super lucky, but he's quite strong, so you might have to lower the difficulty if you can't take the damage at least. When you do get the Jet Dragon, it makes traveling so much better, and you slap some rocket launchers on him and it's the most fun you can have in Palworld. With my new Jet Dragon, I went after the more grindy trophies. I went after the Palpagos Guru one, where you have to get 255 Liftmug effigies. So for this one, there's 400 effigies on the map, so you don't have to get all of them. And when you do it at night with that kind of mount, it's pretty easy. They're all over the place. The second collectible trophy requires you to get 40 notes. There's 50 on the map if you have the DLC. So this one's a little bit less obvious, so you might have to use a guide to find notes. Next, I went after the two final tower bosses, Victor and Sire. These are quite tough, even with the Jet Dragon. Thankfully, they are weak to Dragon element, Dragon type. So my strongest pals were usually dragons anyway. So eventually I did do it. It took me a couple goes for the final one, but as long as you dodge most of their attacks, you should be able to defeat them within the 10 minutes. Yeah, I recommend definitely getting a missile launcher and then level up your Jet Dragon, and then you should be able to do it. After that was all done, I got to the remaining legendaries, which were Necromus, Palladius, and Frostalion. So Necromus and Palladius are like twins, so they come in a pack of 2. With the Jet Dragon, really, you can solo them at level 65, I think I was. So I had no issue with capturing those. I then got to clearing 20 dungeons. Dungeons are just little, caves you can find in cliffs, and also the Everjails like you find in Elden Ring. Those count as dungeons as well. Right, so after that was all done, I got to the 2 final summon bosses. The trophies for them are Eclipsed Siren and Incarnation of the Eternal Flame. So these last 2 bosses, obviously they have to be summoned at the altar after you collect the slabs from harder dungeons. These are quite difficult, especially the Plasma final boss. For that one, I kind of adjusted the settings so my player did more damage than my pals, and I received less damage from the boss itself, which made it a lot more doable. However, this is still, I think, around level 60 boss, so I would ensure you're high enough level and you have good enough gear to get these trophies. Before taking on the last trophy, I did a bit of cleanup by getting the Exceptional Pal Tamer trophy, which requires you to catch 140 different kinds of pals. With the DLCs that have been added to this game, this makes it relatively easy, as you can go to the newly added islands where there's plenty of new pals. And then the other trophy called Overhunting for catching 1,000 pals. You should get this one quite naturally if you're going for the 5 rank 4 pals that you'll need to catch quite a lot to sacrifice and condense. In my case, it was a lot of rank 4 Gobfins, which you will find out later why I needed so many for the final tower bosses. Right, so for the final trophy, there's 2 ways to go about this. You got the easy and the hard method. I'm going to tell you the easy method first. This is what I did really for the final 3 bosses. You go to the world settings before you select your save. You change the damage you deal to pals to max, which is I think 5, and then you lower the damage you take from pals. Then you fill up your squad with 5 Gobfins. Gobfins are very easy to obtain. They're on this little beach. I went on a massive Gobfin hunt, which helped me get the 5 rank 4 pals. So the reason you get Gobfins is that they increase your attack. You increase the player attack while just being on your team. You don't have to summon them or anything. Just them being there increases your attack, which works well if you also make sure they have the passive skills of Vanguard and Stronghold Strategist. Your player attack should be really high at this point, and if you have them at rank 4 as well, it makes their partner skill give you more attacks, so that's also beneficial. You should be high level at this point, so you should have pretty good gear and a missile launcher. Missile launcher is key for this. If you can have one that's rare or legendary from a schematic, it's even better, and you essentially go ham. You go boom, 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 and these bosses are easy at this point. So that's how I did it, and that's what got me the platinum trophy. The more respectable method, I would say, is using your pals to defeat them with 2 Noclum method. So you get 2 Noclums with really good stats with the best passive skills that include Legend, Demon God, Serenity, and Musclehead. You try to get them to rank 4 if you can, and level them up at the Statue of Power. Once you have those, you put 3 Dummards. I think I'm saying that right. 3 Dummards with the passive skills Vanguard and Stronghold Strategist. What those do is they make your Noclums stronger, and the strategy with the Noclums is you initiate their partner skill as soon as you summon them, which makes them a lot stronger for about 45 seconds. Then that skill goes into cooldown for 30 seconds, and that's when you pull out your second Noclum, and you basically interchange them until the boss is dead. I tried both methods. The Noclum method, unless you have really good Noclums, it's still pretty tricky, so I recommend kind of changing the setting and getting after that platinum. Alright, so that's about it for this platinum trophy. The game's great, and the trophy's not too hard, so like if you enjoyed the video.